Nice to see you tonight. I'm coming out on a drizzly, rainy night.
Just another drip there.
Just in, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Glendora.
And just wanted to thank everybody for showing up. I'm going to bring Tracy up here as soon as she starts chatting right there. Tracy's going to come up and do her shameless plugs for the Nassau Free Library.
Hi, Tracy.
Oh,
Hi,
hello. Hi, everyone. Thank
Hi.
you again for coming to open mic night. I can't sing tonight. I was going to. I really was.
No.
I had my ukulele ready.
Oh.
I was going to play for the adults.
Come on.
Normally I play for the kids. I'm going to do this sometime, but my voice is really shot, so I really can't this time.
You can
Right.
play your uke and we'll just sing along.
Yeah. Next time, Tracy.
Next time. But this would have been a good one, because I know a lot of Christmas songs. So happy holidays, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. There's a few things left in December to happen besides the holidays. We're having on Monday the TED Talks, Coffee and Conversations. The topic is civic engagement beyond voting. So what we can do for our communities beyond voting, how to talk to each other, how to plan together, and bring our communities forward in the world. We have also our knitting group is going to be in the evening on Monday, 6 to 8. And then on Tuesday, December 17th, we're having a gingerbread house party. I'm sorry, that is Wednesday, December 18th at 6 to 7. So we'll be making gingerbread houses, and it's a family event. There we go. It's working now. So yes, I know. We are hoping that we will have a writers get together here in January. So if you know any writers that like to come, and we're going to be putting our pens to paper and our fingers to laptops, and we have an information packet upstairs if anyone's interested in joining us for that. But that's going to be really fun, and I hope that that you could come to that. We also have something else being raffled off. We just had our nutcrackers went home to people, but we are now raffling off an Amazon Echo or an Alexa. So if anyone, what's an Alexa? Does anyone have an Alexa at home?
It's a voice service, it says on here. You do?
Yeah, it's the same as Google.
Well, it turns on your lights, turns off your lights, doesn't cook dinner, and doesn't clean the house. But it basically runs things. Supposedly you can communicate from a distance.
You could say, Alexa, play Jingle Bells, and it'll play Jingle Bells for you.
Is that only on an Apple?
It is not Apple.
It's Amazon.
It's Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is the second generation. It was donated to the library, so we're using it as a fundraiser. Supposedly runs around $150. That's what I'm told. Don't quote me. But anyway, the raffle will be just before Christmas, right?
Yes.
So the tickets are up here if you're interested.
Yes. I don't personally want any more voices in my house, but I know other people do. So I would like to thank Patrick so much for being our MC and setting up our show tonight, and always doing an awesome job every second Friday of the month. And Jean and Roseanne that helped to set up as well. And thank you all for coming and making this night awesome. So enjoy the show.
A question, what number open mic is this?
12? This is our 12th.
This is our 1-year anniversary.
Next month.
next month, next month.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
We
started in January. Okay, so there's your answer.
Yeah, so we'll be having the first anniversary open mic next month.
Yeah, so come to the first anniversary next month, second Friday of the month.
Oh,
If anyone wants a bookmark, all the programs are in the bookmark.
We'll also be raffling off an afternoon with Gene Farzak. You'll discuss woodworking with you. Right, Gene? What? Oh, I didn't tell you, Roseanne didn't tell you about that?
No.
Oh, okay, no, I guess, you have something to discuss on the way home, I guess. Let me get a little set up here for myself, okay, guys? Talk amongst yourselves.
What's his first one? It's laugh up. Sweet.
laugh out sweet. Laugh out sweet.
I'm doing something different tonight that I haven't done before, or I haven't done in a long time.
Any others?
I'm standing to play instead of sitting. No response, okay. Oh, well. I thought it was, somebody would notice or something, I didn't want to just address the elephant in the room that I will be standing tonight. The second elephant in the room is, yes, I'll be playing an electric guitar instead of an acoustic guitar. Mainly because my acoustic guitar would not behave with new strings. It was constantly going out of tune. I think that's part of winter and part of dampness. I think sometimes acoustic instruments tend to just go, and mine was doing that today. I couldn't keep it in tune, so made an executive decision that I was going to bring a guitar that I knew would stay in tune. The strings have been on it for a while. So I have the electric guitar. So when you think about the holidays, what do you think about? What are some of the things that we think about?
Snow.
Snow, sure. What else?
Caroling.
Caroling. Who is this Carol that we're always talking about anyways, you know? And who is Merry, you know, this Merry Christmas thing is pretty much prevalent. And we all have different ideas about what Christmas means to us or the holidays mean to us. And I get very depressed sometimes, mainly because it's not like I remember as a kid. All the kids in the audience, I apologize to. But it's not the same as I remember as a kid because when I was growing up, we had a very small family. And so that meant getting together with the cousins and the grandparents and everything in order to make a bigger family. And so a lot of things became a tradition. And one of the traditions that we had for a long time is whenever we saw an airing of Holiday Inn and White Christmas, that we would definitely watch that. We'd all sit around. And White Christmas is like one of those standard songs that everybody does. And so another thing that I think about Christmas is family. And what I've tried to do tonight is pick up some ideas from what my parents would like me to sing. Now, my mom's still around. My mom's 92. But my dad passed away a number of years ago. So these were some of their favorite Christmas songs. In no chronological order, okay? But mostly drawn from the 40s and 50s, okay? I dream of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the tree tops glisten and the children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. And this is where my father's favorite part of it, because he loved the Ink Spots. I dream of a white Christmas, 'cause every Christmas card I write, may your days be merry and bright, and may your Christmas be white. gonna do the Bing Crosby thing with the little things about that. Thinking about Christmas, it's very, this time of year is very melancholy for me too, for some reasons, and this year in particular, because for those of you in the audience who are historical aware or maybe come from a military family, we're coming up on a very significant anniversary. We're coming up on the 75th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge, which will be over the course of the next week and a half. The Battle of the Bulge started right around the 14th, 13th or 14th, and went through the January, and was one of the coldest winters on record in Europe. And so a lot of the troops were being affected by frostbite, by hypothermia, by a lot of different, just not only the enemy, but the elements were conspiring against them. And my dad was one of them. He had enlisted during his senior year in high school, and the Greenwich High School allowed a bunch of young men to enlist and graduate early. So my father graduated in January of '43, and immediately went into the service in January of 1944, went to Fort Benning, waited for orders, went to England, and then about the second week in November, they went across the channel and they went to Belgium. And that's where they were staging from for the Battle of the Bulge, for the Battle of the Ardennes Forest. And so right about this time, 75 years ago, my father was wounded in the Battle of the Bulge, and he spent Christmas in a French field hospital, which was sent back to England for recovery, and then eventually went back to Halloran General Hospital, which is on Staten Island in New York. And this was something. This song here was written in 1943. Bing Crosby originally recorded it, and it became sort of an anthem for soldiers, our men and women fighting across the water. And so I'm going to dedicate this to my dad, but I'm also going to dedicate it to all the soldiers out there who are still away from home for Christmas. I'll be home for Christmas. I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the love lies. I'll be home for Christmas with only my dreams. Christmas Eve will find me where the love lies. I'll be home for Christmas if only in my dreams. Should have listened to Chris last year and practiced a little bit more, but that's okay. One last one before we go. Something a little bit different. dies. I feel refined, got good music on the radio. Really feeling fine, got good music on the radio. I wanna kiss you beneath the mistletoe. Santa came down the chimney about 3:30. Left lots of presents for you and me. Merry Christmas, baby. Are you sure you're feeling fine? You gave me a brand new Cadillac. I'm feeling fine. Merry Christmas, baby. Merry Christmas to you. I said, Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to you. Can you take a look at the list and see who's next, please?
Glendora.
Okay. We're going to get you a microphone that you don't even have to hold on to. I'm going to put it right in front of you. You want to do it from there, or you want to do it standing?
Turn the chair around that way.
Sure. There.
Get another chair now.
Yeah, we're going to
I'm gonna move.
Yeah.
turn this right over here.
Oh,
Okay, if you can just sit right there. You got our camera ready to go, Rosie?
No.
could you get full last name?
Okay?
On technology.
Yeah, yeah.
Challenge.
Yeah. Gene, can you put up the lights all the way for this too?
Put them up.
Yeah.
Hey folks, how are you tonight?
All right, how are you?
Oh, great, perfect. Hi, Wiltie.
How you doing, Glendora? You in good spirits tonight?
Oh, good
There's a
spirit.
All
microphone
right.
right about 3 inches right in front of you. Okay, it's on a stand, okay?
It's almost on a stand.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, gee, we get better and better. You hear okay, folks?
Yeah.
The green light is flashing. Is that
How many people, Pat?
18.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not, because people have been going in and out the back, out the steps, so. I mean, let's say 20.
Yeah, I would say 23.
Did you count ahead?
Laugh up sleeve.
People, do you know why you hear the expression, laugh up your sleeve? Why do people laugh up your sleeve? It's where your funny bone is.
Lawyer, danger of.
One lawyer wrote to another lawyer and said, "Sir, I regret to inform you that our respective clients are in danger of agreement."
How long with company?
Young man, the chief executive officer said, "How long have you been with the company?" 2 years, sir. "Well, how much money do you make a week?" $200, sir. "Well, I've been observing you for quite a while. I've decided to make you vice president of operations starting January 1st at $200,000 a year." Gee, thanks, Dad.
Secretary met.
Secretary's very fastidious, very particular. No other secretary proofreads the Xerox copies.
Miserable.
Marilyn says, "Last year I was miserable and depressed, but this year I turned that whole thing around. This year I'm depressed and miserable."
Woman jury.
The woman says, I'm not going to serve in this jury. I don't believe in capital punishment. And the judge says, but madam, this case is about a husband whose wife gave him $10,000 to go buy a new car, and he went down to Atlantic City and lost it all. She says, I'll serve. I could be wrong about capital punishment.
College brew.
What is college bread? A 4-year loaf made out of the old man's dough.
Brunettes. Brunettes. Brunettes.
A man said, I think brunettes have better dispositions than blondes or redheads. And his friend says, my wife has been all three, I don't see any difference. Yeah, are you sure there's 22 people here?
Not much to see.
There's not much to see in a small town, but what you hear makes up for it.
Longer you want.
And the woman making out the application, and it said, how old are you? And she waits, and she waits, and she waits. And the interviewer says, ma'am, the longer you wait, the worse it gets.
Bachelor, $1,500. No dependents.
Oh, I think this is funny. 2 secretaries at the IRS, one says to the other, ooh, here's another one. $150,000 a year, bachelor and no dependents. What she got in mind, folks? What did she have in mind, right, Joyce?
Yes.
Do work of 3 men.
Beg your pardon?
Do work of 3 men.
Oh! And the secretary in the office said, they have a machine that will do the work of 3 men, and the other secretary said, I'd rather have the 3 men.
ESP.
Excuse me.
ESP.
The accountant said to the secretary, I'm looking through your books here. It says ESP, ESP. Over here on page 4 it says ESP. What's this mean, ESP? Error someplace.
Bananas long.
Billy said to his little friend, they're not going to grow bananas any longer. Really? Why? They're long enough now. Well, there, we got something out of Pat. Pat, let us get you out of your Christmas depression.
Ghost.
One ghost said to another, frankly, I don't believe in people.
Anybody dead?
The teacher said, why weren't you in school yesterday? My mom took me to the cemetery. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody dead? He says, yeah, they all were. What do I
Judge.
do with these people?
Judge to dentist.
What did the judge say to the dentist? Do you swear to pull the tooth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth? They're coming to. Keep going, honey. They're waking up.
Bet mental.
Excuse me.
Bet. Mental. I don't know. How about dressing room?
No, go back to the other one. I think I almost got it. What was it?
Bet.
How do you spell it?
MENTAL. Mental.
Oh, yeah, good thing we didn't forget that one. A man went to Atlantic City and he vowed that he would not bet. He would just watch the wheel go round and around and around, and he would not bet. Sure enough, he lost his mind.
Dressing room.
Can I try, this is a man in a haberdashery store, and he said to the owner, can I try on that navy blue suit in the window? And the owner says, no, you have to use the dressing room. That's a funny picture. Funny picture.
I'm sorry. Well behaved.
Why are you so well behaved? Well, when I was a boy, and every time I was well behaved, my daddy would give me a penny and he would pat me on the head. By the time I was 18 years old, I had $20 and a flat head.
2 miles from the land.
Yeah, the ship was getting kind of rockety, and people were getting pretty scared. Passengers were really frightened. And so the steward goes before the microphone, he says, "No reason to be scared, folks. We are only 2 miles from land." Straight down.
Scout Cliff.
The scoutmaster said, "You see that great big cliff over there? We're going to climb that cliff." And the little scout began to shiver and shake. And he says, "Do people fall off of that cliff very often?" And the scoutmaster says, "No, once is enough."
Large crystal vase.
Oh, I love these. Ad in the classified, "For sale, large crystal vase by lady slightly cracked."
And that's it.
There was
That's it.
another one too. Yeah, "For sale, umbrella by lady with 2 broken ribs." Don't you love those? Yeah, I love those. Her name is Joyce Baum, B-A-U-M.
It's like a real theater.
Yeah.
It's amazing. House manager.
Here's a question for everybody, and I bet you there's somebody in the house who can answer this for me, because this is such a well-read crowd, and such and incredibly good-looking and educated. What year did the original Nintendo PlayStation, not the PlayStation, but the original Nintendo come out?
1980s.
Yeah. 1980s, yeah. So maybe if I center a story around 1988, 89, it would make sense. Because it involved Nintendo.
You all right?
Okay.
Maybe not.
It was Christmas Eve, 1988. Just it sounds good. It sounds right, okay? Christmas 19, and so my son would have been 7. And that's just that edge. You know what I mean? You know the edge?
Yeah, we know.
Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't exist, maybe he does. Yeah, well, that's where we're at. Okay, so let me plant it right there. That was what's going on. And so we're getting ready for Christmas. It's probably about maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so we're doing the baking, you know, we're doing the prep work, we're doing, you know, the final touches of decoration, trying to make the house look nice with it, because Noah would have been 7 and Lucy would have been 1. So this was her first Christmas with us. Okay, so just casual talking. Oh, Santa Claus is coming soon. I hope, you know, like, and I'm saying, oh, I hope he brings me what I asked for. And, you know, just to call the camera and say, yeah, you know, what was that Nintendo game that you asked for? And originally he had said one thing. I can't remember the one he asked for, but he just goes, DuckTales. And I go, oh, that's not was the one that you had in the letter for Santa, was it? You go, no, but Santa knows. Yeah, Santa knows. And so the quest for Ducktail begins.
Oh my God,
Okay. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Eve.
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay, so if any of you know this area on Christmas Eve, there was no Walmart.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. There was no Target or Target. There was no
Kmart.
Yeah, there was a Kmart, and they didn't have it.
Oh.
Joyce Department Store.
I tried Joy's department store because they had the specialty shop with all the games, right?
How about Montgomery Ward?
They didn't have it. No. So now I'm into Albany, right? And I'm at Sears, right? Nope, not there. You know, the game started in there, nope, not there, not there. Now I'm panicking, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm realizing some of these stars are starting to show up. So, last ditch, I am now on State Street. I'm at Dwayne's Toyland. Remember Dwayne's Toyland?
Yeah, woo!
Oh yeah, it was a great store.
Is it
except
Westgate Plaza?
I walked into that store and I went to the area where they had the Nintendo games. It was like an atom bomb had gone off. It was just like things hanging, it's just like it's a little thing tilting on the window like that. Just hanging there. Oh no, oh no. And so I go to the guy behind the counter, and he's an older gentleman, and I go, "Do you have DuckTales?" "What?" "DuckTales." "No, DuckTales in the costume department upstairs." No, I'm not looking for a DuckTales, I'm looking for the Nintendo game, DuckTales." He goes, ain't got that. So, the little voice peeks up from him back. He goes, "Yeah, we got it." And the kid who had been working there, it couldn't have been more than 16 or 17-year-olds, he got it. "Yeah, this what you're looking for?" He got it, so... Yeah, and literally, they shut the door, they locked the doors as I walked out. "Thank you, Mr. Temple." So, make a long story short, the next day came along, and he opens up and he's incredibly happy with DuckTales. "Oh, Santa got this, Santa knew, Santa knew." Yeah, I go, "Yeah, Santa knew." Santa knew. But it was actually probably one of the most satisfying gifts I had ever given my son. And when he finally got old and I told him they killed, he goes, "Oh my God, I would have been fine with the other game." We still refer to that as a Christmas miracle.
Look at it this way, you don't have to go to China.
Yeah? Okay. Next on my list there, Mr. Gene. You got the list right in back.
I do?
Yes.
Starts with a B.
Beth.
I can't read your writing.
It's probably Beth.
I don't think
I think as well. I think well.
so. Wilsey.
Wilsey.
Wilson.
Wilsey.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry.
You know that guy, Wilsey? I heard he's trouble. Big trouble. And luckily he's here tonight. Wilsey.
Thank you.
Hooray!
Oh, I should say North Chatham's finest.
Yeah, right.
Last week, I had the pleasure of meeting another storyteller. And most of the things I do are things that actually have happened to me in my life. Well, I was encouraged to try to break out from that. Try to do something a little bit different. So, all day I'm trying to come up with something, what am I going to do, what am I going to do, So I finally settled on something. I was trying to organize it in my mind, and I get here tonight, and I'm telling Glendora about it, and she goes, "Don't you dare. Don't you dare." She goes, "Do something that's actually happened to you." Now that was about an hour ago, and I haven't really had time to formulate what's going on. But there are several fears that people have in their lives. Can somebody come up with a common fear?
Dying.
Dying,
Heights.
heights,
Public
Failure.
speaking.
public speaking.
Compliments.
Thank you. Thank you for public speaking. There was a time in my life where I would not stand up in front of a group of people and even utter my name. That happened when I was in 9th grade. Everybody in the English class was supposed to give an oral report. Came time for Wilsey to give his. Wouldn't do it. So my then teacher, Miss Kafka, told me, "I'm sorry, Wilsey, but I'm going to have to give you a 0.
Oh.
Okay, but I can't do it. I can't get up in front of a group of people. So that plagued me for quite a while. And then it got time to go to college. They always have a speech class. Well, I found out that if I went to Dutchess Community College, I didn't have to take speech. So I did. I'm going to get away with it. Well, I since transferred, went to a 4-year school, got my degree, but after that, I had really toyed with the idea of working with science. So I went back to school, Hudson Valley, and in my biology class it was divided into lecture, lab, and recitation. Uh-oh. So, comes time for Wilsey to give his talk. Get up in front of the group. There was probably 40. And I start talking, and I'm drawing on the board. But after about 4 or 5 minutes, I noticed that people are sitting there looking at me, and they're like, what's going on? You know. So I continue, and I'm going, and next thing you know, their heads are tilting. I'm like, what? And then I kind of listen to myself. I realize that I'm not speaking in complete sentences. I am just throwing words out there, and nobody knows what's going on. It's just a garble. When I realize it, I stand there and go, the end. And I sat down. After class, Professor Horgan came up to me and she says, Wilsey, that was horrible. That was probably the worst I've ever seen in my life. But I'm going to give you a D just for getting up there and doing that. So, now you're thinking things are going to get better. Well, maybe, maybe not. A friend of mine called me up one time. He's directing a show at the Ghent Playhouse. And he says, Wilsey, we need a bass voice, and I know you sing in church. Could you possibly do this? Well, maybe. He goes, auditions are over 2 nights. Auditions? I gotta get up on stage? Yeah. I don't sing. He goes, you're gonna be fine. He goes, I know you go to church. You sing hymns in church. Pick a hymn that you know and sing it. So, okay, fine. So I'm going through the hymnal, find in the garden. So I'm I come to the garden. So I'm practicing in the church, and I'm facing out toward the pews, hoping that this will give me a little confidence. Well, not so much. So comes the big night, the first night of auditions. I'm driving over here, come to the garden, oh, the dew is still on the road. So I get there, and there's probably 20, 30 people.
Sweet.
So everybody signs in, they call you up, you tell your name, you give the pianist the music, you get up and you do your thing. Well, people get up and they start singing, and when they're done, they're polite applause, from everybody else that's sitting there, and they get off the stage. This woman gets up, and she just wows the place. I mean, people are just sitting there, their jaws are dropping. Oh my God, this woman is unbelievable. And she gets all done, and people are jumping up and clapping and screaming, and they're going crazy. And then you hear, Wilsey? I make my way out the door. There's no way. That fear came back. It was horrible. So the director comes running out. What are you doing? I said, Richard, I can't follow this. I just can't do it. And he goes, calm yourself down. You go, get yourself calm, come back in, we'll do more people, and we'll have you come up later. Okay, fine. So I get myself calm, go back in, sit down. People are going. Well, there's only the assistant director, the director, the stage manager, and the pianist. They're the musical director. And there's one other person and me. I said, okay, I might be able to do this. I only have like 4 or 5 people. So I get up, hi, my name's Wilsey, I'm gonna sing In the Garden. I come to the garden alone while the dew is... And I'm looking out there, and I see the assistant director, and she's sitting there, and her eyes are closed, and I'm like, she loves it. I'm in the zone here, you know what I mean? And I'm getting bigger, and the voice is booming, and I'm getting going. And finally, I get all done, and you hear from her. And she had fallen asleep. But it got me through it, and it got me a part in the play. So it comes time. We're putting the play on. It went over a 2-week period. And after the play is over, you're expected to go out and meet and greet, shake hands, and say hello to people. So I'm walking out there, and all of a sudden, hey, Wilsey. Turn around. Imagine my surprise to see you up on stage singing and dancing when I gave you a 0 in your oral report in 9th grade. It was Mrs. Kafka, and I hadn't seen her, and I couldn't tell you how many years. But it was both a surprise to her and me.
Nice. That's good, Wilsey.
What was the show?
Pirates of Penzance.
Oh. Great music.
Starring the wonderful Wilson. Patrick Peters is going to be coming up next. He was a regular for quite a few months. He took a hiatus, and now he's back to fill his way into our hearts. Okay, and he's going electric.
Oh, cool. You're taking them over to the other side, huh?
The dark side. Let's check the see how that sounds.
I didn't even know it was on.
Okay, try that.
It was making that noise. The wood burning.
Do I need a microphone for anything?
I am kind of.
Okay, there you go.
Sure. And there's one hiding in there.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so the first song I'm going to play is, it's not actually a Christmas song, but the guy who wrote it, he was a famous Shetland fiddler, and he would play the song for his landlord every Christmas morning. So, kind of has a Christmas tradition behind it. And the play of the story was that it's actually the way he would pay his rent for the entire year was by playing the song once on Christmas, which is a pretty good deal for him, but I don't know what the landlord is thinking. So it's called Christmas Day into Morning. next song we're playing is a more traditional Christmas song, but I got the arrangement from a country Christmas CD I got several years ago, and I hope you enjoy it. Right, next song, Mr. Parsik and Beth already played it, but I'm gonna play it faster. So I'm not gonna mix it better.
Show you.
In case nobody knows at all, and I'm playing a lot faster because I don't play slow stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. Sorry about that.
Alright, for my last one, I'm going to do a, oh boy, I think it's a French song. Guess I have no idea. Called Angels Wait for Your Night.
Got your back, Patrick.
Return of Patrick. And not too soon. We needed that. Okay. Beth.
Patrick.
Beth.
If that's still recording, I'm gonna ask that you turn it off.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. The piece I'm playing has a copyright that I can't have it recorded. So.
Did you hear that, Glendora? I have to turn off the...
Music cable has to be straight on.
Straight. Sound like we practiced. That little bit you heard during the break,
Good job.
that little bit in the break was just to
Sounded like
decide
you-
capo or no capo.
You could have fooled me. That was great.
Want to lead us in sing song?
What are we gonna sing?
I would have brought song sheets.
We know the words.
Anybody to sign it?
Tess, were you gonna do another song?
Do you remember when I invited you to, but you didn't want to go?
You're the
Couple of
talker.
weeks,
I'm just the one that stands in the back and goes like, okay.
I forget.
What are you
introducing?
No, it's just
What are you
trying
gonna
to
say?
remember. Yeah.
All right, so this is getting. Is this one on,
I'm gonna, no,
or is it this one?
I'm putting both on.
Put them all. Put them both together. Make it a press. Yeah, that's like a press conference. I like that. That's nice. That's in stereo. All right, so we got kind of a dual thing for you tonight. First, Tessa here is going to delight you with a song called
Blue Skies. It's usually a song that makes you kind of happy because it's talking about how you have, like, how you can see the sun shining super bright that day, and it puts you in a good mood.
Thanksgiving.
And then I'm going to follow up with a little bit of a fiction reading for you, which we'll get to in a moment. All right, so without further ado, I introduce you, Tessa.
Tessa.
Blue skies shining at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Blue birds singing a song, nothing but blue birds from now on. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-ya-ba-ya-da. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, man, how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on.
She doesn't handle praise too well.
I'm allergic to compliments.
She wants to be from Philadelphia, you know, where they boo you. Yeah. I always said, man, you get married in Philly, they boo you. All right, so what I'm going to read from is a novel I published a little more than a year ago. It's titled Bastards of Young. This is actually in the library's collection upstairs. No, I did not check it out, so you don't get the circ. So somebody check it out afterwards. This was written years ago when I was living in Seattle. Absolutely fantastic town that I still dearly miss. And basically it's kind of a coming-of-age story, and it's set in 1988. The title actually comes from a post-hardcore song by a Minneapolis group called The Replacements. And if you ask me, it was the defining song of my rotten generation, which is Generation X. Has such wonderful lines as income tax deduction, one hell of a function. So if you were of a certain persuasion, you know, the song really meant a lot to you. Unfortunately, most people didn't hear it. So anyway, enough about, so this, where we're at in this book, it's actually toward the end. And in this, our protagonist is a guy named Nick. Nick is a wannabe rock musician. He is a guitar player, not a very good one, who is forced to sing after his vocalist decides up and quits and decides to join the Navy, become a SEAL. And at one point, his band's falling apart. He goes into a record store and runs into a guy he knew from a couple of years earlier. And it's a guy with a red mohawk, a red Fu Manchu mustache, and he's wearing a kilt. And the guy's name, he just says, just call me Gremlin. Okay, let's face it, that's the best name in literature that has not been used. It was just there for the taking. So anyway, at the point we're at in the story, Nick's girlfriend, Amanda, visits Seattle to go look at the University of Washington. She goes back to him, tells him, you guys really should check it out. There's all this really cool music going on up there. And the music I'm talking about was the early grunge scene, which exploded nationally in the early 90s. So this is set in the spring of 1988. So Nick and Gremlin decide that they're going to go ahead and do a road trip up there. Nick is 17 and a senior in high school. Gremlin is 18 and a freshman at UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. That's where the story takes place. And I don't know if you probably never drove Vegas to Seattle, but if you drive straight through, it takes about 22 straight hours. So they're up there, they're in a record store, and they find a publication called The Rocket, which was an actual music publication that used to exist there. And they find an ad for a show featuring a couple of local bands named Nirvana and Soundgarden. Well, they decide they're going to go ahead and try and crash it, even though it's a 21 and over show. Well, they didn't get in through the front. So Gremlin just smirks at Nick when he asks, what do we do now? We crashed the party. Last time I was in an alley so dark, damp, and narrow, I saw a drug deal. You saw it, looked away, kept walking, said nothing to nobody, and hoped no one would give you flack for seeing it in the first place. Still, this place seemed a lot less menacing. I didn't even see any garbage. Come to think of it, I hadn't seen any litter anywhere in Seattle. Weird. But even a clean alley still had a hint of menace, and it was only because of what we were trying to do. I asked, you sure about this? Gremlin walked with his hands in the pockets of his leather jacket. I've done it before, he said. Quite a few shows, actually. Sure you have. I have. The back door of the Central was surrounded by brick buildings. Garbage bags were everywhere. 3 vans, their back doors open, were parked. I slapped Gremlin's jacket with the back of my hand. Can we get busted for doing this? He stopped walking. Worst they can do is throw us out. You sure? That's what happened in Vegas whenever I got caught. This ain't Vegas. Relax, Nick. If we get thrown out, we'll go somewhere else. Yeah, like jail. Gremlin grabbed my jacket. Look, it's simple. Walk in there and act like you own the place. We get past the door, we're fine. We're in. Got it? Hope you're right. Long-haired musicians hauled instruments inside a door guarded by a metal gate. A cinder block held it open. Gremlin whispered, okay, just walk in behind those guys. Do not hesitate. Got it? I nodded. A guy with long, straight black hair and a thick beard carried a guitar case inside. We followed. I was behind Gremlin. We hit dark stairs. We walked up, hearing music and talking. The club was dark and rectangular, smoky, smelling of cigarettes, cloves, and beer. It had a tall ceiling and brick walls covered with posters. There were a few wooden support beams. The bar was toward the front door. People were everywhere, smoking, talking, smiling, drinking beer and other booze. Some sat at scratched tables. They had long hair, short hair, punker hair. Some wore flannels. Others wore leather or jean jackets. Jeans and t-shirts were standard. Sounded like Green River was playing. We shoved our way through the crowd so we could get a decent view of the stage. What did I tell you? Gremlin yelled. We got in, we're fine. I smiled, nodded, and leaned toward his ear so he could hear me. All right. Let's not do anything to get anybody suspicious. Just avoid the bar. You want me to avoid the bar? I yelled. Nazi. It seemed like forever that we waited for the first band. The floor was hard, as if it was concrete. It made my feet hurt. Wearing steel-toed combat boots didn't help. The first two bands were boring. Would Soundgarden suck? A band that sounded awful live could turn you off to them for a long time. We tried talking between bands, but it was too loud in there to have a conversation. Too many people talking. Then four scruffy-looking dudes took to the stage. They wore jeans and had long, straight hair. The bass player, who had long brown hair and a thick beard, was frickin' tall. Combine that with being on that elevated stage, and the dude looked like an anorexic giant. The singer played a Fender Mustang guitar, just like mine, only he was left-handed. His guitar was turned upside down, the way Hendrix played his Stratocasters. The guy had long, straight, greasy-looking blonde hair, had a bunch of holes in his jeans, and wore a gray sweater that had moth holes in it. He looked like he was stoned. "We're Nirvana," he mumbled into the microphone. "This song's called About a Girl." He started playing a simple, catchy two-chord progression, the only distortion coming from the amps, not an effects pedal. E minor to G fifth. He played those chords until the other three guys in the band came in. I was amazed that four guys who made me and Donnie and Mully look like preppies could make such melodic music. And the singer's voice had a rasp and a whine. How he did that was beyond me. Amazing. But Nirvana's music got more aggressive. I tried staying next to Gremlin. Impossible. The club became a mosh pit. It was like being in a full-contact hockey game with too many players on the ice and no one in pads. I moved to whatever direction I was forced to. I kept my forearms in front of my chest and elbows tucked in so I wouldn't get hurt, just like everyone else. I gazed between taller heads and saw people climbing on stage and diving into the crowd. Raised hands pushed them. The crowd was polite. If someone slammed into me hard, they'd apologize and smile. What was up with that? In Vegas, nobody said they were sorry. They just acted like they were tough. The last song Nirvana played was Negative Creep, pure distorted aggression. The singer kept screaming lyrics half the time, not even distracted by his long hair getting stuck in the sides of his mouth. I was covered in sweat, as wet as if I mowed the lawn in a Vegas summer morning. So was everybody else, it seemed. I had on my leather jacket and flannel. It was stuffy in there. When I was shoved near the stage, a guy in jeans, a flannel, with long hair stage dive. I put my arms up, got his shoulders, and pushed him away. Where the hell did Gremlin go? Where was he in this mess? Good thing I had the car keys. Then Nirvana's set ended. The mosh pit died, and the crowd loudly cheered. Nirvana was intense, full of angst, yet melodic. Wasn't pure punk, wasn't metal either. Their image would have gotten them labeled stoners at Fremont, but there was something different about them. They were raw, but they showed they could be polished, yet still have an edge. It was what I wanted for the band. I got shoved from behind. Gremlin yelled, "What did you think?" His face was drenched. "Dude," I yelled, "that was intense." "You liked it, didn't you?" "Loved it. We got to work on getting that kind of sound, man. It's perfect for us." "That's cool with me." We then traded punches in the shoulder. A half hour later, Soundgarden came on. The guitar player was the guy we were behind as we snuck in. The singer looked like Jesus. Same long curly hair and mustache. The bass player looked Chinese. All of them were dressed like they could have easily been in the crowd. The mosh pit started again. I got shoved into a wooden beam by Gremlin. Wasn't his fault. Pain in my ribs, though. The mosh pushed me toward the bar. But somehow, me and Gremlin didn't get separated. Soundgarden was as intense as Nirvana. People stage dived throughout the set. The singer was amazing. Such a powerful voice. It cut through the music and set itself right in your bones. Toward the end of the night, Soundgarden played Entering, a song I knew from Gremlin's show on KREB. Me and him were right at the front of the stage when the song started. "Come on!" Gremlin yelled in my ear. "Let's stage dive!" He dragged me by my jacket. Gremlin got up on that stage, at least 3.5 feet above the floor. I climbed up too. I stared into the swirling crowd. It looked violent. Gremlin yelled, "Come on, Nick!" He jumped into the crowd, back first. He was caught in mid-flight. I followed, trusting a bunch of people I didn't know. I saw the black ceiling high above me when I felt hands catching it, passing me along. It was like floating on water. I just hoped nobody would steal my wallet. "Nick!" Gremlin yelled. "Is this a blast or what?" Then I saw right up his kilt. Going Commando is not just a song he wrote. Good thing he wasn't joking about those things I didn't want to know. "Yeah, it is," I yelled, but I doubt he heard me. Didn't matter. The show was incredible, better than any concert I'd seen at the Thomas and Mack Center. There, we were separate from the bands on stage. Here, it seemed like the bands weren't any different than us. And the people at the show weren't any different than us. We weren't treated rude, like we were all over Vegas, even by the few people who looked and dressed like us. The music was the kind of stuff we were starting to play and listen to. It reminded me of New York, and Amanda was going to college here. Move to LA? Please. My mind was made up. We had to be part of this scene. We were moving to Seattle. So this will be available upstairs if you want to check it out tonight.
Not just that, but he's also working on the sequel.
Yeah, New Day Rising, maybe, I don't know what your group's going to be like, but the sequel's 25 years later.
Well, I'd like to thank all of the performers, all of the storytellers, raconteurs, musicians who were here tonight. It's been a great night. Thank you all for showing up. I think I'm going to have a theme. Let's try beating the winter blues for next month. Okay. Okay. So.
Happy songs only?
Huh?
Happy songs only?
Happy songs only.
No.
What about blues parodies?
Okay, fine. Okay, so thank you all again for coming tonight. Greatly appreciate it. We'll see you again next month. I don't even know the date, but see you in 2020. Oh, I get to say it. See you next year.
The interfaith meeting at the National Synagogue from